Hello and welcome to my studio. It's Lois here from Lois and Morgana Davidson Art. Today's studio vlog is trying out very lightweight paper. Today it's lightweight £90 Arche paper, and it's a very lightweight paper which makes it a little bit cheaper than some of the heavier weight like £140 papers. And I've pre-stretched the paper and I'm going to see whether or not it stays flat as a drum as I paint it. Spoiler alert, I think you can see from the photograph above that it's looking pretty good. And just for information, £90 is equivalent to about 165 GSM, which is a very lightweight paper. The paper I normally use is 300 GSM or £140 weight. Just before the demo, just a quick word about my book, Landscapes in Watercolour. It's available to purchase now from all good bookstores. I'll leave a couple of links in the description below. So if you like my style of painting and style of teaching, then please take a look in the description below. Okay, right, let's start on the demo. I'm going to use the wet in wet method and some lovely rich colours just to experiment and really put this paper through its paces. Plenty of water, so wetting the page all over, leaving a few dry patches here and there. I'm using my 1.5 inch Princeton Aquarelite Mottler brush, and I've picked up on my brush Tube Consistency, Permanent Rose, Transparent Orange, Van Dyke Brown and some indigo, and I'm just roughly putting it across the page in big bold brushstroke sweeps, and I've sprayed it with a water misting spray and now turn the board 90 degrees, and you can see that the water from the misting spray is activating the paint. It's flowing beautifully across the paper, so lots of water on this. And now I can just add in a bit of marshy ground below this dramatic marshland sky. Make any adjustments that I need to make, adding a bit more paint to the sky, and you can see the paint is flowing sort of gently down the page, getting some nice dry brush texture. Perhaps darken that up and start putting in some brush strokes just to indicate some reeds, something and nothing growing up in the foreground. I think I've almost got it where I want it to, so now I've turned my board back round and I'm going to lay my board flat. It was at about 90 degrees tilt and now it's flat, so the washes will not run anymore. They'll stay where I've got them because I really like the look of this loose abstract marshland sky. You may have noticed that I do have masking tape around the edge of my pre-stretched paper. This is to give me a nice clean white border because I like to see how the painting looks, and having a clean white border of course kind of shows it off. Just make a few tweaks here and there to the painting and maybe just add in a bit more paint around that area where the reeds are. I'm thinking that I might use some salt, test how the salt works. I'm not really sure whether it's going to work very well though, because the weather is very, very humid here in the UK at the moment. Lots and lots of moisture in the air. I've got my dehumidifier running and it's up really, really high, very high percentage, about 80%. And so I think if I try to use the salt, it's not really going to have much of an effect, but I'll give it a go anyway, just to see what happens. Scraping through with the palette knife is a great test for this lightweight paper as well, and it's not tearing it, it's not damaging it at all. It's just creating these really nice marks that give me the suggestion of reeds and grasses. And I think I'm going to try one more trick just before I sprinkle some salt into the foreground. I'm going to lift out a moon or a sun, whatever you like. Little bit of paper tissue over the top, the lid, circular lid of a paint tube. And I've just smoothed it on, putting it on quite tight, and I'm going to press the lid covered in tissue into the damp paint. You can see there it's lifted out a really, really nice shape of the paint back to the white of the paper, and that gives me the indication of a sun or a moon. Maybe just sort of dab out a little bit more of the paint using a little bit of extra tissue where the paint is trying to sort of come back into that mark there. And here's my ordinary fine ground table salt. As I say, I don't have very high hopes for salt effects in this high humidity, but in for a penny, in for a pound, as the old saying goes. Just sprinkling a bit across the damp paint where it's fairly thick, just to give myself a chance of maybe getting some pretty little patterns there. And just before it dries, just in case I don't get any decent salt effects, I'm going to use the tips of my modeler brush and some indigo and put in some darker shadows, just hoping that they will softly diffuse and blend in around those marks that I made, just to give me a little bit of depth in the foreground, bringing them down over the tape so that they should be nicely contained in the picture plane when I remove the tape. So now I need to leave it to dry completely. So throughout the drying process, it's dry now. No rippling, cockling or buckling at all. The painting is absolutely flat as a pancake and has been all the way through the painting process. So I can highly recommend pre-stretching £90 paper. And although this is Arches, which is of course premium quality paper, I think other £90 good quality watercolour papers would probably work just as well pre-stretched. Just a few more reed marks in and around the existing ones using the fan brush and indigo. As you can see, I haven't really got much of an effect from the salt. I think that's the difficulty with the high humidity. For some reason, it stops the salt effects from working. So now I'm removing the tape from the edges of my painting, and you can see I've got a lovely crisp border. I'm really happy with this. I love the way the washes flowed across the paper with lots of water. I think sometimes if the paper buckles as you paint, even if it dries flat, that buckling while the paint's wet can get in the way of how the water and paint flows. I'm really pleased with this. If you're interested in learning how to pre-stretch your paper or want to see how we pre-stretch our paper, I shall leave a link in the description below, and go and watch that video if that interests you. And of course, please feel free to watch any videos in our back catalogue. There are hundreds of videos here on YouTube where we demonstrate techniques which hopefully will give you the transferable skills to really enjoy painting landscapes and other scenes in watercolour. Well, thank you so much for watching. Please leave us a like. And why not consider subscribing to our channel if you haven't already, as it really helps with our reach. And if you'd like to support our free-to-view channel, then you can do so over on our Patreon pages. The links for that, and of course the links to my watercolour painting book, are in the description below, along with a link to the paper stretching video if that interests you. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and happy painting. Bye.